Well, as Steve Smith said there to Harsha, and indeed Matthew Hayden said at the halfway stage, Australia probably left 20 runs out there. 264 was going to be competitive because it's here in Dubai and the pitch is a bit stoppy. It was a bit better today, and India are just so strong in depth. We thought Kohli was going to see them home. In the end, out for 84, but then KL Rahul took the mantle. He was 42 not out, and of course there were some fireworks from Hardik at the end as well. So India winning by 4 wickets with, well, an over and 5 balls remaining. So just to confirm, the final of the ICC Men's Champions Trophy of 2025 will be played in Dubai. It will be India against either South Africa or New Zealand, who face off tomorrow in Lahore. Nasser and Athers are with me. I mean, how do you view that? Australia so inexperienced. They pushed India hard, but they've just got so much depth. You've got Jadeja, who wasn't even used. Walsh was at 8 for Australia. They've just got it all bases covered.
They have. It was a pretty clinical run chase. They've got the best chaser in the history of the game in Virat Kohli, and around Kohli they have so much talent all the way through. Spin bowling all-rounders, guys at the top that go hard in the power play, a wicket-keeping batter in KL Rahul that's magnificent, an all-rounder in Pandya. The game wasn't lost in the second half. It was that 30 runs that if Smith and Maxwell batted a little bit longer, then I think they would have got those 30 runs. Losing those 2 quickly meant that they were short, and then you have an inexperienced bowling lineup. You're struggling. I thought Stephen Smith and Australia and that bowling attack did as well as they could to protect 264. In the end, India just too good.
And they dropped a couple, Australia, as well, which is unlike them. I mean, the one Labuschagne drop was a very difficult one, but nonetheless, you've got to take your chances.
Well, you felt that if Australia were going to win here tonight against India, they had to play the perfect game, and maybe India had to be slightly off their game as well. And Australia didn't play the perfect game. They fought hard, as you say, and pushed India, but they didn't play the perfect game. They left runs out there. Stephen Smith got out at the critical time, then Maxwell, and that just left them with a bit more to do. And then the catches that they dropped, 2 difficult ones off Rohit. They dropped Virat, which Glenn Maxwell, brilliant fielder, may think he should have taken on 51. So just off it a little bit. That's the catch on 51, leading edge.
Did the bowler put him off there?
I thought Cooper Connolly started to go across, and maybe he could have gone with his left hand. I don't know, because he's obviously left-handed, but maybe that put off Maxwell a touch. But as I said, if they're going to win, they've got to play the perfect game there, and they just weren't quite good enough.
One big surprise was that Kohli wasn't there at the end, because we're so used to seeing him being 100 and some not out and walking off.
I think he picked the wrong, and he picked the googly, and he was trying to hit it square. There was a gap where we stood, actually, and he found mid-on. But, you know, I thought they played it perfectly. When KL Rahul joined Kohli, they just milked it, singles. Then they got to 64 off 60, and they had a little break, and KL said, I'll go. And he went bang, 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 6-4. And then Virat got out, and then Hardik came in, and KL Rahul sat in. And Hardik played an odd innings. There were a lot of dots in there, but you don't mind as long as the next few deliveries go for 6, and that's exactly what he did. Make no mistake, there's hardly any weaknesses in this Indian side, especially in these conditions. They may be missing Bumrah, but Shami steps up at the end today and bowled beautifully at the death. So they are a fantastic side, best side in the competition, excellent captain, got pretty much all bases covered.
That's an interesting point about KL Rahul, because he played almost 2 different innings. The ability to change the mental approach given, A, the game situation, and who's up the other end and when he disappears.
Well, he's a pretty experienced player now, isn't he? Obviously, he's keeping an outstanding player out of the team in Rishabh Pant. And maybe that's part of the reason for it, that he's vastly experienced and that he's got a lot of skill in differing ways. And as Nasser rightly said, he started off just in Kohli's slipstream, and then just after drinks decided, well, it's my turn now, my time to take the game on. And he has the ability to play different ways. Most of these good players have the ability and have the range to do that.
Just going back to Kohli, a strange shot to be dismissed.
Yeah, well, I mean, you just expect him to get 100 in a run chase like that once he's got himself in. He played beautifully. He gave that one chance that he got away with. But his manipulation of the ball today was outstanding. In fact, funnily enough, that early shot, he played one of them against New Zealand as well. He's quite prepared to take it on early. But then when he gets in, he really is an expert at just knocking the ball around and finding the gaps with precision. He's a beautiful player, and you just expected he was going to get 100 because that's what he does all the time in a run chase. It would have been his 29th, and then he holed out just about, well, just 20 yards to the left of where we're standing now.
And Ath and DK were talking about it on comms. We'll see the highlights of his batting there, but actually it's in between the highlights. The balls that he just knocks with ease to get off strike. The amount of, the lack of dot balls that push for one, the two. At one stage, in 25 deliveries, he had 23 singles and a 2 or something. He just manages to knock it around, and then the opposition captain thinks, I might have to bring one up. The moment they bring one up, he knocks it over their head and takes the boundary option.
So it's a good lesson, isn't it, for England? Because obviously we see Joe Root do that day in, day out. Steve Smith played that kind of innings here. Kane Williamson does it all the time for New Zealand.
2 tour champion batsmen in action today, didn't we? Smith and Coe.
2 of the great players of the day, and it's fantastic to watch them both. The way that you know, they kind of calculate where they have to be at a certain stage in the game, and their ability to go through the gears pretty quickly. They're fantastic players to watch.
I was fascinated. I don't know what you thought about Steve Smith's captaincy in terms of the angles he had the fielders at, because at the start you just thought, well, he's far too square. He's far too straight. But he'd read the pace of the pitch, obviously batted on it, and he was plugging those gaps. The shots that we normally think, well, that's at least 2, 3, we're actually going for ones. He's a very clever master tactician in terms of that.
He is, and the two obviously go hand in hand. Why is he such a great batter? Is because he reads situations and he reads angles and he knows when to sit and when to attack, and the same as a captain. I've always thought he's an exceptional captain. We've seen that in this tournament. We saw it today. Listen, apart from Zampa, they lacked experience. There's a huge amount of skill out there. I thought Nathan Ellis bowled beautifully. He got it reversing and all his slower balls and the balls out the back of the hand. But I thought Steve Smith did as well as you could as a captain. Maybe occasionally there was in that middle period where there were a lot of singles. Maybe he could have gambled and said, we'll have another man in.
Bring mid-off up, maybe.
He did occasionally, to be honest. At times he didn't need to have so many up, but he did. Maybe he could have gone one more, but I thought he got it just about perfect.
Tough, isn't it? Cooper Connolly, 21, 3 ODIs under his belt. Tanveer Sangha, 23, 3 ODIs under his belt. On a pitch, in a ground where you expect your spinners to come to the fore. I mean, there was so much resting on Adam Zampa there, and you could see Steve Smith. He only had 10 overs to get from him. He kept kind of putting him on, then bringing him off, and at the crucial times bringing him back again. He really had to kind of almost finesse a bad hand in cards, or a less good hand in cards, and he was trying to do it as well as he could, and did it as well as he could.
Cooper Connolly had an interesting day, didn't he? Because
his
innings
great
was,
challenge
and
for
he dropped
him.
A catch, and then he came on and he bowled well.
Yeah, he could have had the 2 big guns, as you say. I think he missed 7 of the 9 balls he faced and edged 1 and out. Then he dropped Rohit early on, and as a young kid you must be thinking, my God, where's my day going to end here? And then he came on and actually bowled pretty nicely. Bowled 1 high full toss, but otherwise hit his lengths well. I always think when young players come in on a game like today, it's a measure of the structure and of your domestic competition almost, because if they come on and they do okay and they don't look overawed and their skills hold up under pressure, you think, well, the standard of your domestic competition, the crowds they play under and the pressure and the standards of that comp must be okay.